Hello, everyone, and welcome to Recipe for Reality. Do you want to switch seats? Our names are on the bottom again.
Oh, yeah. Here.
There we go. Welcome, everyone, to Recipe for Reality.
Well, now you're blocking the ring.
Sorry.
Well, just adjust.
Hi,
Recipe for Reality.
I'm Dylan, that's Zach.
I'm Zach, that's Dylan.
Yeah, we're talking Survivor, specifically the finale. It's coming up. And, we're in the same space, by the way. Figured we should bring that up. Do you want to get a little closer?
Oh, are you here?
Or am I... What?
You're here?
I'm here. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
You're
okay.
here. Yeah, get a little closer.
I'm trying not to show my hand.
No. Oh, to me.
Because I'm writing my...
He's writing his predictions down now. Crazy episode. We're not even going to talk about much else. Let me just bring it up, though, before we transition into Survivor. I just want to talk really quickly. I mean, amazing race, y'all. As we see... Claire and Derek took the victorious finish, and I ended up taking the victorious finish as well by 10 points.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I had Luis and Michelle in third, so I got 12 points for that. Had Derek and Claire in one, got 12 points for that. Picked up those big 12-pointers. But overall, pretty good season, surprising season. The Twins made it a lot farther than either of us predicted. They had a great story. Obviously, your winner picks.
I was going to say, I would like to bring up the fact that it does... I will never know how I actually did because my winner picks were taken out by COVID.
Right.
Which is an unrelated to the game kind of extenuating factor. Yeah. Therefore, we'll never truly know if I had picked correctly. I did have Derek and Claire in second. I mean, it just seemed very obvious to have them in first, though it is there is nothing wrong with it. I think
it's very telling that we both predicted two of the final three. Right. Luis and Michelle, Derek and Claire. And the ones that we didn't had the best story, the long-lost twins. Good season, but we're here to talk about Survivor. I hope that filled enough time, and he still has not written down a prediction.
No, I really am so nervous. I'm struggling.
So going into this episode, last time we talked, we had just finished the double, and I was very high on Cassidy. He was very low on Cassidy. But it ended up being that we should have been lower on Noelle and Sammy. These people that were always like big figures, but I never really thought had a chance to win the game. Zach did think Sammy could have won the game. He actually had Sammy pretty high. Let me pull up some of these rankings. This was the Noelle boot. We both had her pretty low.
Yeah.
I had her in 7, you had her in 6, so I gained a little traction on you, about 2 points from behind. But look at that. I had Cassidy at 1. He had Cassidy all the way at 8. But then the next week is the real story because
you really pulled yourself out of that.
Yeah, here, Zach had all the way at number 1.
I know.
And I had Sammy all the way at number 5 because I thought, Sammy didn't have protection. He was kind of a wild card, and we see that being the thing. But this past week, I haven't even made a graphic for it yet, but we both, when we texted each other, we both predicted Cody in 6th, and he went home. But I think the way he went home was so much more unconventional than we believed. We knew it would have something to do with the fact that he was the biggest threat left. He had his idol. He gave it to Jesse. In my brain, I thought Carla or Cody is going to make a big mistake here. This is where Omar went out. This is where
Carla and Cody both have made a big mistake here.
This is where Shan went out. So we knew we were going to lose a big player because we always lose a big player either before the finale or like a few episodes before. Last season, we actually lost Omar and Drea, both back-to-back right before the finale. And then 41, we lost Shan and Danny right before the finale. So I knew we were going to lose someone big. So I put Cody and Carla at my bottom. You put Cody and I believe Owen at the bottom or something like that.
Yeah, which was not a far-off prediction given how things could have occurred.
But yeah, we both predicted Owen in 6th. And I think that just goes to show, or Cody in 6th, and I think that just goes to show that Survivor has been getting a little bit more predictable in the fact that our big threats are always going out like right before the finale, or they're winning. Or they're the ones who take out the big threats. And in this case, Jesse's the guy who took out the big threat. But now this is interesting because the way it went down was so unconventional. And we just watched it. I saw your reaction. It was crazy. I mean,
it's a good episode.
Cody and Carla, great move to, hey, let's tell everyone we're playing our idols and then get a fast one on them and keep our idols for the next round. Good if you have dumb players you're working with. If Cassidy, Owen, Gabler, and Jesse were dumb enough to believe that's a great plan.
And I think that's the big mistake is that or I guess it's a big mistake, but also a testament to the type of playing that you see this season.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a lot of Twitter hate about this season, and I don't to be truly honest, I don't understand it because you have. I will say the Mike Gabler, the dark horse of the season,
the Alligator,
the Alligator indeed, right? Who we saw for weeks as he's only there because he's by accident. I will say, I really can't believe that. And this episode, I think, proves it, is that I still maintain, and as we get into our rankings, we'll see, I still maintain that I don't see a path for him to win the game necessarily, but I will say I think that Gabler has managed through both his prowess and still a sheer bit of luck, right? Having the idol, being able to cement his placement with people, because in the week where it's either Gabler or Ellie, but one of them has an idol, if Gabler doesn't find an idol that early on, I think we're talking a very different game. We're talking a very different story.
It's potentially your first boot of the season.
Right. But despite that, he presents himself to be smarter than anyone has given him credit for, and that's where someone like Carla or someone like Cody actually ultimately fails. You don't see the value and the core importance of having, like, I think the idea of playing, we'll bluff our idols, is a great gameplay in a season filled with other people who have not watched other idols walk out and revolve through the door. Right. And that's the mistake here, is that the game is not simply made up of those who have an idol and those who don't. The game is made up of those who know about the idols and have the prowess to say, like, okay, well, like we see with Gabler, right? We've got to get rid of Carla and Cody because they're the alphas of the season and they see themselves that way, but we've just got to figure out a way to get rid of them, right?
And the credit I'll give Cody is that immediately Cody's like, that's not the plan. I'm getting Carla out. And I think that's where Carla is also underestimating Cody, because the two of them together are like, we're going to pull a fast one on these guys, but really Cody is planning the fast one on Carla. And honestly, if Jesse was just a more giving ally, if Jesse was like, sure.
If Jesse was a worse player.
Yes. If Jesse was a worse player and was like, hey, I can still...
If Jesse was a worse player.
If Jesse was confident that he could still beat Cody in the end, he might have gone along with that plan, and it's still a great blindside because Carla goes home. And that's the thing, is you could have gotten Cody out this episode without having to play that idol. But I think because then Jesse gets the big plan. If Jesse doesn't play that idol, Cody still goes home, but then Carla still has an idol. And I think that's why it was such a masterful plan, and I think one of the best moves in Survivor is you're not only... First off, you had to convince him to give it back, and I hope we see the scene where he does give it back, because the whole time we're spent in the dark, which is a good editing play, but like, how did he get the idol back? Well, I assume it's because they probably think another knowledge's power is floating around there. They want to be safe and make sure that Cody is not holding his own idol. But when Jesse plays it, then Cody can't play an idol because that was Cody's idol. And then Carla's like, well, I got to play mine now because my whole plan's out the door. So now you get out your biggest threat and you get out Carla's idol. So now Carla's in Final Five without an idol. She needs to win a challenge or she's going home. Right. And now Jesse has all the power that all he has to do is play his idol from Janine, and he's guaranteed Final Four. And all he has to do is make fire.
And full transparency, right? So we all have Twitter. Dylan deletes his Twitter when things like this occur. I do not delete mine. And we're running a schedule right now where sometimes we can't watch live. I knew that a blindside occurred. What I will say, it is not just the knowing of the blindside, because I was like, oh, well, I guess then the episode's a little less interesting. The episode was no less interesting knowing the outcome regardless, because not only then are you seeing the pieces fall into place, the commercial break right before Tribal is Cody getting his idol back, and my thought there is, oh shit, Carlos. So then, then my thought there, kind of knowing a little bit about what happened, was, oh, well, if Cody's walking out, which I did know was happening.
Oh, so you knew Cody.
If Cody was walking out, he was walking out with his idol.
Oh, yeah.
And that meant that Jesse gave up his idol for nothing. And now I'm looking at it and I go, oh my God, not only did Jesse not give up his idol, he finagled his idol. He finagled Cody's idol back into his pocket. Mm-hmm. That's the ultimate power move.
Yes, and I think that's something that's
an ultimate power move.
The producers did a good job this year of making each idol the color of the tribe. So when Jesse plays that idol, the audience knows that's a red idol. That is Cody's. Right. That's not Janine's. Because if he had played the yellow idol,
it would have been like, well, that's Janine's idol.
And I think he's saving that for Final Five. Because Final Five, Jesse should throw that challenge. Because the best thing that could happen for Jesse 100%. Is he throws the challenge, has people targeting him, so then he can use that yellow idol and turn to Janine and be like, Janine, you know how you gave that idol to Dwight? Well, guess what? Dwight gave it to me. That is the ultimate sell yourself to the jury move. If this wasn't already, that's a 1-2 punch to where all he needs to do is win fire, and we'll get to that. Will he make fire? I think that's going to be the finale, is will Jesse make fire or will he not? And if he does make fire and loses, who takes him out? Is it going to be the person who wins immunity, the person who makes fire, or is it just one of those scenarios where if Jesse's out, the final three, who makes the best speech? It's really going to come down to it, because if Jesse wins fire,
he should win the game.
He wins unanimously.
I was going to say, if he wins fire, and that's what he's been doing well enough, and I hope that he does continue, and something that I think they forget, even though they sit right there in front of them, some of them forget that the jury is super important. And that's not just to this game, that's in every game that CBS does where they have some sort of jury, right? You forget how important the jury is because you don't look at them all day. You look at the people who are staring in front of you, which is why on something like Big Brother, all of a sudden, everyone in the world is like, oh, jury management. But the truth of the matter is jury management happens half within the house and half outside the house. So you have to set yourself up in such a way that you are, not only are you good with the people in the house, you're good with the people who walk into the house and who talk to the other people. That's where, like, Taylor really shines in this last season, right? She gets to have people going in there hating on the other people in the house, but then also being like, man, look at Taylor. She is really so. But what Survivor gets that Big Brother does not get is they sit in front. They can talk to the jury. They may not they can't get answers from the jury, but they can look at them and say, like, Jeannie, you remember Dwight, the idol that Dwight had? And Dwight gets to sit there and go, like, I had a part in that, right?
Sitting at home.
And,
yeah.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah. Janine's there. Janine's on the jury.
Yeah,
She's going to be there to see it.
Yeah.
Another thing too is that with the jury and Survivor, it's like you can see the body language. That's one thing Big Brother you can't see. You can't tell if the jury's pissed off or not. So I think seeing the jury get hyped, Jesse's probably feeling good, but you always have to imagine the next juror is always going to have the most convincing argument as to whether or not a person should win or not. So you never want to send Cody out angry. And yes, Cody is angry. He flipped off the cameras in his goodbye message, which we didn't get because the DVR cut it off.
I was going to say you get mad because you got.
But at the same time, him extending that handshake and him saying I'll explain later is perfect because now Cody, as much as he wants to go to Ponderosa, which is where the jurors go, and tell the jurors like, oh, this guy betrayed me, he backstabbed me, he had me give me back his idol, thinking there was a knowledge of power when in reality he was going to use it against me. Now he has to say, well, he said he'd explain it, so I guess we'll have to wait and see. And now he can't start stirring up all that negativity toward Jesse. Now all he can do is be at Ponderosa and say, well, Jesse said he'll explain himself, so I'm looking forward to hearing that.
And Jesse does a really good job at Tribal of really heavy handing the like, well, I go with the plan, and all of the jury. I mean, you see Noelle being like, no one's gonna fucking play an idol. No one's gonna play an idol. $10, they won't do that. They're all sitting there, kind of like, well, how they know Cody. They know Cody has an idol, and they know Carla has an idol. Some of them know Carla has an idol, but they don't know that Jesse has Cody's idol. So he's literally sitting there like I give Jesse a lot of credit as a player, probably one of the best of the season, for making himself look so unassuming and such a bad game player. And then the minute that he the way he even plays it, right? The way like they're sitting there, everyone's waiting. They're looking at Cody. They're looking at Carla. They're looking at Cody. They're looking at Carla. And Jesse's like, well, I looked over the social and stands up. And you see them. They're like,
yeah.
That is a great game player. That's Jesse, a great game. He'll be back.
Yes. He's not even playing it low key from a tribal council jury perspective, but even earlier in the episode when it was originally before the immunity challenge, Carla or Cassidy's going up to Carla. Carla's crying. She's putting on this performance saying, I was not coming after you. Talk to Jesse. And then she tells Jesse, she's like, Jesse, go tell Cassidy that everything's okay. We tricked Cassidy.
The minute that he gets to Cassidy, he's like, all that stuff you've been hearing about Carla, it's true.
So now Carla's confiding in Jesse to keep this lie. Jesse's going to Cassidy, and the thing is, Cassidy never really comes back around on Jesse. And that's what's so funny is like, Cassidy could have easily gone up to Carla and been like, Jesse just told me that. Instead, now it's just Carla and Cassidy, and Jesse's blood free.
Now,
so that's what's so amazing is he has no blood on his hands for any of this.
Now, this is what I will say is at this point in time, and we can use this to transition into our rankings if we want. I sit here as a fan and as someone watching the show, right? I have to ask myself, if he's at the end, no one can beat him.
No.
I look at the edit and I go, they have made him look impossible to beat. Is it really that obvious that he wins, or does he go out in the Ricard style, where if Ricard gets to the end of if he gets the final three, there's no way Ricard loses. He has the big move in his pocket. Yeah. He has,
that was the same with Omer. Omer went out 6th, not 5th, but it's also the same thing with Omer. Omer made the move on Drea a week too early. And Omer makes the move on Drea, very next week goes out. The difference here is Jesse's making the move, but he has an idol at 5.
And that's
Ricard didn't
the
have
thing,
the idol at
is
5.
that he has guaranteed security. He has guaranteed position in the Final Four. The problem is, as it's been pointed out, he's never won an immunity challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And he's in a tough spot because he will make it to 4. But the problem is now everyone looks at him and goes, if you sit there, you win. And up until this point, no one thought that. Gabler had been sitting there thinking, like, he even says it, like, who you gonna let Cody talk your moves for you? And the thing is, now I think you might have let someone like Jesse slide into Final 3 with you, and Jesse might have been able to talk his way through it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way you can let him come to Final 3 with you.
What Jesse had over Cody
finished.
was the story.
Not finished.
It was the personal story of, I'm doing this for my family and kids. He probably would have gotten some votes over there, but I think ultimately Cody would have beat him because Cody is the one who can be like, I'm a salesman, I fooled all of you, whatever, and he's charismatic. People like listening to Cody talk. And if Carla and Cassidy, it's the same thing. If Carla and Cassidy are sitting next to each other, Carla can say, Cassidy and I did all the same stuff. It's just that I was never targeted and I have an idol. And ultimately, that's why I think it's so brilliant what Gabler brings up. He's like, listen, Cassidy, you and Carla are playing the same game, but Carla's more flashy. Jesse and Cody, you're playing the same game, but Cody's more flashy. And in one single move, both Cassidy and Jesse now are immediately bigger threats than Carla and Cody. They immediately jumped the ladder because they took that advice and said, we got to get out our number ones. And while Carla didn't go home, they got rid of her idol. So I think now Cassidy has the upper hand on Carla. And again, Jesse got the upper hand on Cody. And now Owen and Gabler are just there.
and that's my thing, right? Is that, again, Gabler has done a really good job at making it another week. He just doesn't have a resume, right? I think that Gabler, again, let's hop into the rankings.
Let's hop into the rankings. Before we get into the rankings, though, I just want to say for those watching how the finale works. Obviously, there is a vote at 5. There's an immunity challenge. Jesse will most likely play that idol unless he has immunity. If he doesn't,
it's crazy.
If he doesn't, it's crazy. He's going to, because it's also a way to show off to the jury. He's going to. And even if he wins immunity, he's going to use it on, like, Cassidy or Gabler or Owen or something. Probably won't use it on Owen again. Actually, him using it on Owen, if he wins immunity, would be smart, because then he could keep saying to Owen, I kept saving you. I'm the reason.
I was going to say, and he can say to the jury that, hey, Owen's only sitting here because of me. I'm the reason.
Which is not really the case.
Well,
no.
Could
be a jury.
But the reason that he comes to the end might be like, hey, if the vote doesn't play the right way on that day where I used the vote on Owen, I mean, he might not be here because that one vote. If Carla and Cody had used their immunity, Owen leaves,
goes home with one vote.
And so,
well, and how it works, So Final 5, Jesse probably can play it. Final 4, whoever wins immunity takes one other person to the Final 3 with them, and the other 2 play on fire. One wins, one goes home, and then the Final 3 is the other case.
Do we want to say our scenarios as we think they're going to play out? Or do we
have my whole scenario kind of like written out.
So I'm going to let you go after me because you are very excited about your scenario.
Okay. Do you want to just go your 5 to 1 and I'll go my 5 to 1? Just so you kind of like spell out exactly how you think the finale is going to work.
All right, so man, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm really struggling with how obvious this 5 is, and I've thought back and forth about it for a little bit, and that's why I was sitting here struggling, because the truth of the matter is putting Carla in 5 is a tough decision to make, but the only reason I'm making it is because I can't think of another person who goes out at 5 unless it's an accident.
I'll tell you, I did the same.
And the reason why she's at 5, like, I mean, she's got an injury on her ankle. And the thing is, her hand injuries are really coming and catching up with her. She has no idol anymore, which I think is to be honest with you, that was the thing I was waiting for in the finale was, is she going to use her idol? Because if she doesn't, then she's clear to 4, and that's good. Even if Jesse, because the thing is now that we know, she never needed to use her idol. Cody still would have gone home, and it all would have been kosher. Now it's like, I just don't see a way that she goes through and goes unscathed unless she manages to either win immunity or someone else proves themselves. Someone like Cassidy proves himself to be more of a threat. But the truth of the matter is, Jesse can't go out at 5 because he's going to use the idol or win the immunity challenge. Gabler or Owen winning the immunity challenge would definitely open up a window for Cassidy to leave at 5. Or if Carla wins, then I think Cassidy goes home. But at the end of the day, I just don't see a way in which Carla wins unless she really pulls this out. And she could, but it's very unlikely. And I'm thinking scenario-wise, Carla probably goes in a vote at 5. It will be a shame to watch it happen. It'll be a Ricard situation. She's played so good for most of the game.
Right. I was going to say this most recent stretch.
These last couple of episodes have bunkoed her game.
I think honestly, her biggest enemy is not Jessie. It's not Sammy.
It's her, bro.
It's not even her. It's the edit. The edit is, and I'm not saying they shouldn't have edited her this way because it honestly makes for good TV. But you have someone who's on the top of her game, struggling. Do I get rid of my best ally, James, or not? As soon as she gets rid of James, her edit tanks. Yeah. And I think it's the thing where next round she's saying, all right, we got to get rid of Cassie. We got to get rid of Cassie. And then she ends up folding and voting for Sammy.
Right.
When Sammy trusted her. And then this episode, same thing. She's like, all right, we're going to get rid of Cassie. She wins immunity. She's like, okay, fine. I'm going to put on this crying thing. Make a deal with Cody. I'm going to go for Owen of all people. Like, honestly, no offense. Owen's not a threat to win this game. He's not.
And that's the thing is that I don't see.
Yeah. The edit could have made her look good, even if she wasted that idol. They could have given her some sort of redemption, but this episode clearly, to me, the editors made it look to be that she was looking that everyone was always one step ahead of her.
Right.
In the fact that she would cry and then immediately people would be like, I don't believe that for shit. Or the fact that she would go to Cassidy and then Jessie would go to her right after. I think this episode made her look pretty bad.
Well, and the thing is, I think what's great about Carla as a player is that she's a strategic mastermind.
Yes.
Early on in the game, and if she had just continued to play strategic mastermind rather than trying to do too much, if she had just stayed in the position that she was where things were happening, she was quietly watching, she would make the right moves, she would make the right decisions, she would go with the people and be like, all right, it's time, like, let's do this and let's make it happen. I think her problem is she was matched by Cody and Jessie, and because of that, she felt a need to surpass rather than to match. Yeah. And if she had just stayed matching, I mean, like we saw it here. I think the moment that Cody in the episode cements his issue or cements his downfall, because I like to imagine, again, this is like we'll never know until we find out. I like to imagine that Jessie is still on the fence. Like, okay, I don't know if I'm going to do that. But the minute Cody confidently comes out and is like, I feel like a 9, and then stops and goes, actually, 9.5. And I'm like, why would you speak so highly of yourself right now? Well, you're sitting in a tribal and you don't have your idol.
To be fair, though, his whole thing was that him and Carla, because in his mind, he was like, in order for Carla to believe this, we have to tell the whole time we're playing our idols. So I think that was his idea. I don't think he was actually that confident. I think he was just... Him and Carla, their whole plan was to make everyone else feel like they were definitely playing their idol. So that, to me, was him going, I'm definitely playing my idol, I'm definitely playing my idol, so that he could do the blind sign on Carla.
But the thing is,
he didn't see that other stuff.
I first of all, this is also the bunko by Carla. If it wasn't getting used on Cody, how did you think it was going to get? If it wasn't getting used on Cody, how did you think you were the target? I think she just had such a big misread. I get it. She is also just as big of a target, but if you're looking at it in such a way, right? Carla will go, like, that, Owen goes out, or that you now know that your vote for Owen is gone. But if you look at it this way, right? Cody and Jessie probably voted for you. But if he's really not using it on Cody, then the likelihood that Cody has 2 votes in that thing is pretty high. So you say, we go back to the drawing board and we re-vote, and now it's a screen. Because the color-coded idols, that's Cody's idol. Right, so you just have to...
She should have probably sat there and been like, oh, they're pulling one on Cody. Okay, I'm just going to hold back.
And I think that the heat of the moment just got the better of her. But
Which I think... honestly, better safe than sorry, but if you're trying 100%. To win...
But that's what I mean, is that I don't know if she'll go out in 5 or if she'll go out in 4, or honestly, if at this point she sits in the final 3 and loses. But I hate to say it. I can't believe I'm going to say it. I don't think she wins anymore, which is a sad thing because I thought that she was a winner pick.
I'll be honest. I think she loses next to Jessie, obviously. She loses next to Cassidy because I think Cassidy even has always been more in the know than her lately.
Yeah.
And I think, honestly, I think she still might lose a few votes at least to Owen or Gabler. If she's in the final 3 with Owen and Gabler, I think she could still pull it out.
I don't necessarily know if she loses to Cassidy. I don't know if it's as clear. Mainly because I still think that they have a way to kind of go up.
But I just don't know what move she would sell at this point. Because I think even James is going to be like, what did you do after? Because you literally sold out your best ally, and then what did you do? Wasted an idol?
Let me continue because Dylan, I can't believe this. I really am I'm gonna blow your mind today. I think.
I mean, we might have a similar path. Right now we're the same. Because I'll just say right now, I'm on the same path. I think the final 5 is less about oh, Jesse just made this huge move, let's get him out. I think they might try to go for Jesse, but he'll pull that idol.
No.
I think it's really going to be Carla versus Cassidy, and
Right.
whoever wins out that battle, I think Cassidy's going to be able to sway more people than Carla. Yeah.
So then at 4, right? So I'm thinking about the pathway to 4. So now we're at 4. We're in an immunity trial. We're in an immunity challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell you right now that I think the winner of that immunity challenge is going to be Cassidy or Owen. I don't think it's going to be either. I don't think it's going to be Jesse. I don't think it's going to be Gabler.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be Owen and Cassidy.
I think if you were a betting man, though, I'd say Gabler still even has a better chance than Jesse of winning.
100%. 100% of winning a challenge for sure.
Yeah,
because
he's
won something.
Yeah.
So I think that one of those two wins. And if it's Owen who wins, I'm spelling out a couple of different scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
If it's Owen who wins, he takes Gabler with him and he says Cassidy and Jesse go for fire. And I'm not going to say who wins that yet. If it's Cassidy who wins the immunity challenge, I think she probably takes Gabler and goes, Owen and Jesse go to fire. And Dylan at fire, Jesse will lose no matter what, I think. And Jesse will leave it. And here's the thing. I'm struggling with this because I was sitting there and I was thinking, does Jesse really go out at 4 or does he win? But I think the thing is,
it's one or the other.
It's one or the other.
If he wins fire, or if he makes it past the fire round,
then he's in. It's over.
Wins. If he makes it, but if he loses, it's going to be in fire. I don't think he loses in final tribal, and I don't think he's in 5th place.
No, and the reason why is because they've done a really great job at kind of proving to us that he's not a challenge winner. And maybe he pulls it out when it counts, but I think no matter what, that unless he wins that last immunity, they're sending him to fire. Mm-hmm. Because he's got the worst winning record.
Mm-hmm. And they
overall.
know he's a winner threat.
So I think that Jesse goes out at 4 no matter what, which will leave, no matter what, Cassidy, Owen, and Gabler in the finals.
Which, honestly, in this season, the fact that 3 underdogs like that make the final would be kind of cool. Because, honestly, if someone like Jesse or Carla, who's been like a power player, makes it in the end, it's almost a little like...
Well, okay. It's a little boring.
Yeah, and I'll say it right now. Jesse, probably next to maybe Omer, my favorite player past season 40, like this new era.
And I think
his gameplay has been so impressive to me. I love him so much. I want him to win just for the sake of he is the most deserving.
I think that players like him and Omer and Shan and Ricard and all of them, I think they will get their chance to come back. Right. Even Carla, I think, will have a chance to come back. I don't think he can win anymore unless he moves past fire making, and I don't think he will. Which,
if I'm Jesse, I'm learning right now. Like, I know I made the biggest move of the season. I'm definitely in for, so spend time making the fire.
Right.
I honestly think there's a way he can win.
I think he can.
Because let's say Owen or Gabler wins and they take with the other. If he's up against Cassidy in fire, I haven't seen Cassidy make fire. He might be able to beat Cassidy in fire.
I was going to say, and the other thing is, too, right? If he, to what you've just said, if he showcases himself trying to make fire and he keeps going out and practicing, maybe they don't send him to fire. Because
that would be an even better move than
and
this
I
past
think
one
that's what I mean is that, like, if it's me, intimidation is not made through, like, don't fucking send me to fire or I'll kill you. It's, I know that I'm a threat. I know that I hold the biggest gain right now. Because also, if you get rid of me, you have a secure thing. I knew Jesse was the obvious winner, so I made sure that he went out on my win. Right? Like, that's a big thing.
Well, so yeah, I think he could beat Cassidy, but I do think Gabler beats him in fire easily. I think Owen would beat him in fire easily. So I really think...
And I think sending either of them to fire...
And honestly, Cassidy too, I even think, just because we've seen her win shit. We haven't seen Jesse win anything that wasn't tribal. And even in the tribal phase, they went to 3 straight tribals in a row. They got out Justine, and... Justine. Wait, we're back to that. Justine, they got rid of NECA, and then they got rid of... not the immediate next round, but a few rounds later, they got rid of Dwight. So it's
I think that it will be a really interesting finale to see. I think it will be interesting no matter what, because I will say that, like, once fire passes and if Jesse gets through, then it's a pretty solid, like, okay, we know that Jesse is probably about to win this season as Survivor.
At that point, it becomes kind of boring, honestly.
Right. Well, and I mean, the excitement of it is we want to see what happens up to fire, because the finale is made up of, and we've had this a lot with, we've had this a lot with Big Brother. You have it a lot with you have it a lot with these shows. When there is a clear winner, for example, like Xavier, when we got to Final 3 and we knew that Azza and Xavier and Big D were in the Final 3, it was just a matter of, like, it was really a matter of, if Azza were to win Final 2, does she take Xavier and lose, or does she take Big D and say, I'm going to make this work? and that is, we clearly know what happens. But and the downside of that is like now we still have really like another hour of just waiting to watch Xavier be crowned. And I will say I'm not as like familiar with Survivor, Final Tribals. I do think that Survivor Final Tribals are more interesting because you're all face to face, and you have the ability to have more interesting conversations. And there's a lot. Conversation. And you know what? There is a lot to. I will say, if it's Jesse, Cassidy, and even like Gabler or whichever, there is a lot of interesting conversations to be had because. You have to have the Cody and Jesse conversation. You have to have the Carla conversation with him of like, why did you betray me? There was zero reason to do that. I was willing to take you there no matter what. And if his answer is because I can't win against you, she'll say, well, that's clearly not true. And there's a lot to be. There's a lot to be saved.
I think even the people who were on the jury, Janine, Noelle, Sammy, James. Ryan, James, I think all of them are still in Jesse's camp. That it won't matter if he loses Carla or Cody. You know what I mean? So I think Jesse, if he makes it to the end, wins. So the thing is, though, in our scenarios, because I have the same exact thing. I have Fire playing out a little differently, but I have the same Fire maker loser. I think Jesse loses Fire because Jeff made it a point to say in the challenge has not won an immunity yet.
Again,
and this is going to be the Jesse show. Is it going to be that final 4 rounds? Going to be is he going to win or is he going to lose? Like that's going to be the big pivotal moment of the season. But if he loses, I honestly think that's a more exciting final 3 because now you don't have a clear favorite. Now you have Owen, Gabler, and Cassidy, who are all, I would say, underdogs who have not necessarily had control a lot of the game, but have each had their own bits and pieces of brilliant strategy to where I honestly think that's a more interesting final 3 because you don't have a clear favorite. I have a clear favorite who I'd like to win. Well, actually, maybe I don't because preseason I picked Owen, and then episode 1 I picked Cassidy. So either way, I'd be happy. But I want you to tell me right now, of that final 3, how do you see the votes lining up? So how do you see that going?
I just don't think, and again, I could be wrong. I think that he may be able to garner a couple of votes, but realistically, if I'm looking at the 3 of them there, Gabler has not really faced any adversity ever since the Ellie thing. He doesn't have an impressive game to play right now. The only people who know about his we need to get out Cody and Carla thing are Jesse and Cassidy and Owen, and Jesse's not there. I mean, okay, maybe you get a Jesse vote, but I think Jesse would rather vote for someone who's done a little bit more in the game and who has helped to make moves because, I mean, if he really cared, he would have given the immunity idol to Owen.
Here's my question. If let's say Owen or Cassidy wins final immunity and takes the other, and it's Gabler and Jesse and Fire, because they're like, hey, Gabler's going to have the best chance of beating Jesse. If Gabler beats Jesse and Fire, do you think that helps? Or do you think that's just like Jesse, you're not getting the credit for that?
I don't think so. I think it's
just a more of the 3 of you got rid of Jesse.
I think it's just the only thing Gabler ever has to offer is things like that within the challenge. And Jesse sitting there knowing that, like, listen, that challenge, that the iced coffee challenge, right? The ball and then the puzzle, like they are both part of that problem, right? Cassidy is the one in the ball, but they're the two rolling rolling it. Jesse and Gabler both do nearly as poorly in navigating through that as Cassidy at some points does in trying to get them to navigate. So I think they probably, I think Jesse looks at it and goes, you don't really have a ton of use, and you haven't really done much. You couldn't win a lot of things. You were there for the show.
One last scenario. What if Gabler wins final immunity and decides he's going to go up against Jesse himself and beats Jesse? Then do you give it to Gabler? I'd say that's the only scenario where Gabler wins. I think so. If Gabler can single-handedly give up his immunity necklace to go face off against Jesse
I think so.
Wins, I think he wins.
I think that's and I think that would be a baller move. Yeah. That's a baller move. If that's what happens, then that's fucking baller. And that's the thing. Like, if he did that, that would redeem everything he's done through the season. Because
is he that savvy?
I was going to say we've both been pretty vocal about it, right? We don't think that there's much for him to do. He's an easy first boot with no immunity, and if he knows that about himself, if he knows that he sits kind of in this weird like limbo-y style thing, and his biggest move right now is talking a lot to people to try and get Ellie out, even though like a lot of people were on board with that, where they were like, yeah, of course we'll get Ellie out. We can't get you out, my guy. Like there's nothing for us to do. Right. I think that I don't know if it wins. I do think that he suddenly is a contender. Yeah. Because I will tell you right now, with what I have, right, I do think that Cassidy, I still think that Cassidy or Owen win fire making. I think they send Jesse to fire. It doesn't really matter who they send him to fire with. Again, it'd be a cool baller move if one of them was like, I'll fucking take you out and fire. I don't know. I personally think that Gabler might be the only one with the cojones to do it, the prowess to do it. I don't know, but like the cojones to say like, I'm going to take you out because you've won and secured final 3 and you are now willingly giving it up. That's
But then again, he said, I'm going to put the poison in the drink. So would he go out of his way to make fire, or would he have someone else do his dirty work?
So, brilliant quote, by the way. Very good.
And honestly, if he does win, that's his winner quote. Because everyone has like a winner quote.
Yeah.
If Cassidy wins, it's the one she said in the first episode of, I'm going to play like a fox, I'm going to stay low, and at the end, I'm going to strike. Gabler's winner quote is, I put the poison in the drink.
Yeah.
And then Owen's winner quote is, I finally voted correctly after 8 weeks.
That means that I can't believe it.
Owen
that means
Cassidy
I have Owen and Cassidy in final 2.
Which is my winner picks of preseason
and
regular
Dylan,
season. Oh boy.
Dylan, I will tell you that for the first time ever, sits Cassidy atop my final 5. And I'm gonna tell you why, right? So I'm trying to think
It's funny because we have the same ranking except for one swap out.
And it's in this final 3, so I'm curious. So the reason why I have Cassidy winning over Owen is this, and I can't believe that I'm going to say
he's finally done it.
Well, no.
He's finally
so
come around to my girl.
Now listen. Now hold on.
My best friend, Cassidy.
I do think that Cassidy, again, in this episode, proves to be a pretty okay player. Not a pretty okay player. She's a good player, right? I can't not give her that. But my thing about Cassidy that I haven't really seen is I haven't seen any moves. Right? I haven't seen anything to like really grit the teeth onto. But the thing about Cassidy versus Owen, and the reason why she sits there is because I do think that this is her episode. I think this is her time to really like, whereas Jesse was like an okay, like I think what they are trying to prove and why they showed us that Gabler, like, you know, you're playing the same game as Cody, but he's flashier. You're playing the same game as Carla, but she's flashier, right? I think what they tried to do that, they gave it to us with Jesse this game of like, fine, you want flashy, here's Flash. And so now I think what's going to happen with Cassidy is very similar, right? I think that it comes out, if anything, I haven't really discussed it. I think I think that move is gonna come out in Carla's exit.
Yes,
yes, yeah. I think
dude,
it's gonna.
I'm gonna read off what I texted a friend because this is exactly what I was envisioning. Yeah. So my prediction is that Jesse plays his idol at 5, and the final 5 is really Cassie versus Carla. Assuming Jesse's a fire maker loser, just based on the way I'm predicting it, whoever gets the upper hand, whether it be Cassidy or Carla, wins the game because of that move. I think Cassidy and Carla, that final 5 is going to be the game-winning move. Assuming Jesse loses fire. If Jesse wins fire, he wins, whatever. But if Jesse loses fire, it's going to be that final 5 of whoever survives that. If Carla beats Cassidy, Carla can win.
So this is my thing, right? I think that again, because Jesse really doesn't need to win immunity at final 5. It would be stupid to win it because you can play the flashy move. So then it really comes down to, and again, it could be Owen, it could be Gabler, but so what I'm seeing, right, and it could be later on in the episode, when you see like, oh my God, hacking and doing all that stuff, I think he loses the immunity challenge at 5. It's 5 or 4, but for the sake of this, I'm going to say 5. And I'm going to say that him losing that immunity challenge secures the reason why Cassidy wins, because I'm going to say, I think she might do a 2 week in a row. And in that 2 week in a row, Cassidy looks at Carla and they're talking and whatever. And I think Cassidy says, okay, listen, I'm safe. I want to bury the hatchet. I want to bring you with me. You've helped my game. I've helped yours. We've done this. We said we were going to go together. Let's go together. And so then Carla goes and tells Owen, right? Or one of them tells Owen, and Owen just has like a freak out because there's no reason to get rid of Gabler.
Right.
And he's again, if Jesse has an immunity idol and they don't know, but if Jesse has anything, right? Owen is now at the bottom. So Owen is freaking out. He's so close to the end, and it's just like a snap. And I think at the final, I think it's one of those things where like Cassidy goes around at the end and it's like, let's do this, and orchestrates. She says she wants to. She's laid low. She's laid low for a lot, and she hasn't come out at the end. And if that really is her winner quote, then this is the time to show it, right? To have like this unbelievable, like flashy, incredible move, and because the problem is, sending Carla out now is not the move that it once was. Sending Carla the cripple out is not the move that it once was early on in the game. She's got a swollen ankle, she's got hurt hands, and she's just flushed her idol. So it's like, great, you didn't do any of the work to get her out, but you're going to get her out. So it has to be flashy. And I think that if she's able to pull that off, and I do think that she's able to, I think that that then secures. They look at her and they go, and and you look at it this way, right? Cody wants Carla out. That's the person that did it. Get her out. Jesse, they planned together to get Carla out to flush the idol. That's your vote, right? I think slowly but surely they all see like, you got the tiger pelt, and not only did you get the tiger pelt, you skinned it perfectly, right? Like there
was a photo on Twitter that surfaced of Cody with a tiger. So like he actually has a photo of him with a real tiger.
I think that,
I would not hold that past him.
I do think that Cassidy wins at this point in the game, which is crazy to say. I've been solo. I just haven't really thought of her as doing anything. I think
that's the thing with Cassie, though, is in this new era of Survivor, look at Erica. Was Erica
the one? You're right.
Even Marianne.
Are we about to get 3 women winners in a row?
3 women
that's
winners.
The question,
not only
right?
women winners, but women winners who really kind of laid low. Marianne, you can't really lay low when you're Marianne because you're such a big personality. But laying low in terms of strategy and the fact that like Erica was targeted early on. They just ended up winning every challenge, so they never got a chance to target her. But everyone, remember, they almost threw the challenge to get rid of Erica, but Nasir won it for them.
And that's what I mean.
And I think that's the thing, is Cassie's story is going to be, hey, who tried to get me out? Gio? Oh, he's gone. Ryan tried to get... Oh, he's gone.
Or Ryan, it's like, Ryan tried? There you go.
Sammy? Oh, yeah, no, he went home. Cody was talking about either Cassie or Carla. And I won immunity, so he went to Carla. Well, guess what? He originally wanted me. Oh, Cody, he's gone.
Well, and you can look at the trophy wall. Like, it's just sitting there, right?
And
like, that's the big thing.
And the difference is that, like, Cassidy, while she hasn't been in control of all the votes, has still been in on the votes. She still voted the right way a majority of the time. And remember when she talked about Dwight's confessional, she's like, I put the blanks in your gun. It's like, you weren't in charge of that blind side, but you're getting the credit from the editors.
That is one of her winner. I hate to say it, but I wasn't sold. It made her look really good, but I was like, it just doesn't feel like you're doing anything.
I think it's amazing because I'm predicting Cassidy to win as well as if
But you have Gabler and Owen swapped.
I have Gabler and Owen swapped only because Owen gives me such Xander vibes of, we love you, but you didn't do a single thing for yourself. Like, really, he has never done a move that was his move. Even this past move, Jesse was using the idol on him. And I think Owen's been really good, but Owen was always out of the loop to where he was like, he even gave a confessional. I don't understand. Ellie goes home, Dwight goes home, Janine goes home. Those are my best 3 friends. And I think just that 1, 2, 3 punch, I don't think you ever recover from that the way that Gabler has, where Gabler early on wasn't in a good position, but now has gotten everyone's good graces, and if he's able to like beat Jesse and Fire, maybe he'll get a few votes from like Ryan. Like, Ryan's gonna appreciate the guy who caught all the fish. Ryan is probably giving his vote to Gabler if Jesse's not there, because I don't think Ryan's gonna vote for Cassidy.
I will say, like, that's my thing, is that I think that Gabler, I don't think Gabler goes out with no votes, because I will tell you, in my whole thing, I don't think there's anyone who gets 0 votes at this point.
Interesting. Okay.
I do think that Owen gets a vote, at least one,
like,
right?
Sammy, maybe.
Yeah, like, or not even just Sammy. Like, there's a case for Owen again in the fact that, very similarly, for someone who was on the bottom for so long to go to the not to go to the top, but to go to the final 3. I mean, like, he didn't necessarily get carried there. I mean, like, look at his challenge with Carla and Cody, right? They win because of him, because they all win together, but like, they picked the person who had the best prowess to navigate them through this. He has merit where Gabler and Jesse did not, which is in his strategy physically and mentally. It wasn't, but the problem is that for Owen, this is why I don't think he can win, is that it was never about game that his strategy was so clutch for. It was always about challenges that didn't and that doesn't always necessarily mean that you're an asset. Yeah. I do think he's got a little bit more over Gabler in that regard, but I think the only thing that sucks is that, like, you're right, Owen's people all were gone.
And looking at Owen and Gabler, Owen is a better Survivor player. Gabler played this season better. And I think that's the difference. Is Gabler, I think, gamed his way through this end game better than Owen has.
Okay.
Owen is in a similar boat of Cassidy, where I think Cassidy and Owen were always targeted. I mean, if you look back at our rankings, we always had Owen and Cassidy fairly low. Or you always had Cassidy lower, but I always had Owen and Cassidy pretty low. Like right here, I had Cassidy in 8, Owen at 8, you had Owen at 5. Here, I have Owen at 7, you have Owen at 6. Like, Owen was always toward the bottom because everyone was always targeting Owen. Yeah. And I think the thing with Owen that's different from Cassidy is Owen would keep getting targeted and still survive, but be on the outs of the votes. His friends were going home instead of him. Cassidy would always be targeted, but then would get her way,
which is why I'm
not necessarily in her own move. Like, usually other people made the moves for her, but she still ended up getting what she wanted out of it.
And that's where I sit here and I go, I wonder if Owen because it feels wrong to have a Gabler in second place to me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
my sole thinking is, and let me write down. I wrote down exactly what I think the breakdown is for votes. Okay, I predicted that Gabler gets 2 votes. So probably from I'm gonna say maybe Ryan and like maybe someone like Sammy respects the Gabler move or whatever. I predicted Cassidy to win 6-2 to 0. Like I really think Cassidy has played a much better game than the other two, but it's still going to feel closer. But then I also think jury questioning, I think that could be a point where Cassie really shows us what she actually has been doing that maybe the people at home viewing haven't seen all the time. Well, and I think that's where Owen kind of tries to explain things, and they're like, but dude, like, what did you actually do? Whereas Gabler actually can answer that question of, I just got my biggest adversary out early so that the rest of the game I didn't have to worry about her and I could just kind of coast. And honestly, it's not a great game move, but if you're going to own that move, if you're going to coast, own it. And I think people like Andy Herron and Big Brother have owned up to the fact that they were able to just kind of ride coattails because they didn't need to be in the power.
Right.
And I think that's just going to come down to what the jury
I think it's just down to like what the jury ends up respecting, because if they respect that, it's like, oh, I got my adversary out early, and they're like, but did you really get her out early, or did you just get lucky that you had an idol? Like, and that's the other thing, right? Someone like Owen never has an idol. Sorry, I'm literally looking at other. It's like Owen never had an idol. Cassidy never had an idol. Here you are, Gabler. You're sitting here, but like you were basically untouchable for like X amount of weeks. Your tribal won a lot, which was great, but like, what did you do to help them win? And I think that's one of the, and that is where Owen, because they do come from the same tribe, Owen does have a little bit, which is so sad. We're arguing over second place right now.
Yeah. I think that's just so funny. We all agree Carla's getting 5th, Jesse's getting 4th, and Cassie's winning. 2nd and 3rd is probably the most meaningless positions of the whole 5. You know, what I mean?
It could. And the thing is, though, right? A 2nd and 3rd, it also could technically be a justification for actually why one of them ends up winning, right? Because Owen can sit there as Gabler explains things, and he can sit there and go, dude, you were immune for weeks, and you just were lucky that you had the idol. You know, like, and he can say, like, we thought about getting you out early, but how are we going to get you out when we knew that you knew that idol existed? If you don't have that by chance of luck, you don't play this game for longer than 3 weeks, for three tribals. And I do think that's where that, I mean, again, it's interesting because there is a likelihood that Cassidy goes out at a fire.
She could.
There is a likelihood that that she goes out in 5th, right? There is a possibility for all of this. I don't necessarily think that that's what happens, because if it's an Owen, Gabler, and Carla final 3, I don't think it's as clear cut as it once was, where it was like, oh, well, Carla beats them easy. Owen can sit there and go, these guys are going to tell you what they did, but look how much they've screwed up the last couple of weeks. I sure, we can all make fun of me for being on the wrong side of the vote for so long, but look who everyone was talking to. Look who everyone relayed their plans to. Look who everyone, snuck around with and tried to get things to happen with. Me, I was everybody's friend.
I'll be honest. If it's a case where Cassidy goes 5th and Jesse does lose fire and the final 3 is Owen and Gabler with Carla, after this episode, I think both Owen and Gabler have a better shot of winning than Carla. I really do. I just don't know how Carla, what she's going to sell to the jury, because also you got to think the jury sees things in order that we see them. How many people this season can remember Justine? Justine's probably a great person, but how many people actually remember her? That was so long ago, and I'm worried that the jury is going to hear Owen be like, Gabler had an idol the whole pre-merge, and them saying, that was forever ago. You know, that's also something to think about. It's like how recent these moves are happening. That's why when Jesse's making this move now, that's so important, because it's the freshest thing in the jury's minds. Whereas even Carla getting rid of James feels like forever ago, you know, to where like it's really about the moves you make, not just in the merge, but in the final 5 or 6.
Right.
And I think that's going to be a big selling point too. But
I agree. I don't think this is a clear cut season yet.
No,
and that's what's cool. I mean, that's what's
unless
good.
Jesse makes it.
And even then, it's still going to be a. I think that Jesse probably still wins, but I do think that the others will still give him a run for their money, a run for his money, because again, it's a very like. You made that move and it was lucky, but you did just play Cody's game. And that's, again, we'll see.
Well, and it wasn't playing Cody's game. It was just the two of them did everything together. And honestly, I thought the season might go the way of Ghost Island, which was a season where Wendell and Dom ran the whole thing. And then at the end, they make the final 2 together, and it's a tie. And I'm like, that was the coolest moment ever, because literally who takes credit for it. They did everything the exact same.
Right.
And then it ended up being the person in third voted, and she liked Wendell more as a person. And that's how Wendell won. But it's like...
Which is awesome, and that's great. And
that's the thing.
What
it's
happens,
like Jesse and Cody, I thought it might have gone that way. But I think Jesse didn't want it to risk going that way because in the end, Cody is just a better vocal player. And again, because honestly, Jesse... I think has been more of the brains in that operation.
For sure.
Cody has, but Cody is still neck and neck with him and was being the Flash.
And the thing that he realized that I think is the real, like, this is why if he makes it past fire, there's just really no way he loses.
Yeah, I think it's a 9-0.
They've realized they've now sat him in such a position to sit there and go, like, I sat there and he can say it while everyone was having a good time with the game. I never forgot why I was here. And it hit me, and it brought me to such a point that I got rid of the person who brought me the farthest. Mm-hmm. It brought me to a point where someone handed me their idol as they left the island. That idol could have gone nowhere if it really wanted to. That idol could have left the island, and it would have been a great memento for Dwight to bring home. But instead, he handed it to me because he knew what it was meant for, right? Like, I think I would love to see, I don't know if it's going to happen, but I would love to see Jesse sit in the finals because I want to hear it.
And Jesse, honestly, without Dwight on the jury, he could easily say, oh yeah, no, I tricked Dwight into giving me that idol, Janine, and no one can argue that because Dwight's not there. And they find and here's the thing, if Jesse makes it to the end, even against Cassidy and Owen, Owen was my preseason pick, and Cassidy was someone I've been rooting for the whole time, I even want Jesse to win because I think if Jesse makes it to the end, that is what a Survivor player should do. Should be able to just just navigate the game without any blood on their hands and without any target until the very, very end, and then when they need to at the very end, win a clutch.
Because Jesse's never been the person on anybody's mind.
He's never been.
It's always been about Cody.
Never been voted for.
It's always been about Cody.
I think that's the thing. Everyone else has been voted for at least once, and I think that's the thing with Jesse. It's such an impressive game. Selfishly, if Owen wins, I can say that I predicted the Amazing Race winner, Derek and Claire, Taylor, the Big Brother winner, and Owen, the Survivor winner, that would be crazy. In the same year. That would be the first time I've ever done that because this is also the first year I've ever predicted the Big Brother winner, right? If it ends up being Cassidy who wins, I can say right from early on, I always had faith in her that she could win. But if Jesse wins, I can say that's the best game of the season. That deserves it. I'm going to be happy with either of those outcomes.
I do hope for it.
If Carla wins, I'll be like, great, but I don't know. And if Gabler wins, it'll just be like, well.
Who was my preseason winner pick?
Your preseason winner pick was Dwight. And then as soon as the season started, you'd shift it to Ellie. So they may have both made it halfway through. But the thing is, this is going to be a great outcome either way. And I think the last thing I have to say, they showed a shot of it. It was very brief, but Cassie kissing the necklace. They want to keep reminding us that she's doing it for her sister who passed away. And I think that's also something that, yes, Jesse has a better story, I guess. But
they both have reasons for being
right.
It's right. Yeah. We think about
everyone has reasons, but I know.
But if you we sit here, right? We do this fun little podcast, but we both have our reasons for why we would want to go on shows, and we talk about them all. We talk about them frequently. We talk about what it would mean. That's part of what goes into your application, right? There's a reason that someone gets brought on to be a part of these shows. Mm-hmm. And it's not just because you're interesting for TV, but it's part of your story, right? Cassidy's got this beautiful story about her sister. Jesse's got this amazing story about where he's come from versus, where he was versus where he is now.
The gang
and why he's here.
And then with his family.
Those are the people, even Carla. Carla has a great story, right? Why she does what she does and, how her being different has pushed her to these, to these amazing, and I think that's what's wonderful about the 3 of the 5 is that I wouldn't necessarily. The only person I really would be upset winning is Gabler because I don't think of him as a winner. I think
even
of him,
then though, it would be such an oddity choice.
It would be,
choice,
but
it's that's kind of fun.
I just can't see. I think I would be upset because it's I don't want that. And that's more selfish. Right. But I think that what reality TV is made up of is great story. That's why things like The Bachelor stop becoming interesting after a long time because. It's not like no one has a story, but some of the stories are just okay, you and your parents had a hard relationship, but a lot of people have hard relationships with their parents, and that becomes they try to market it in a certain way, whereas in Survivor, everybody's story matters because in The Bachelor, it's I'm trying to find love in this beautiful mansion that I adore. But on Survivor, it's I'm trying to feed my family and give them a life, so much so to the point where I'm on this island for hopefully 25 days, 23? 23.
It used to be 39. Now it's 20.
Whatever.
24, 27.
That I'm isolating myself from them for X
26.
amount of days, and I am
26.
I'm basically starving myself and putting my life on the line every single day because I believe it. And I think that's why shows like that, even Big Brother, right? People are like, "Are you sitting there?" That's why I would love to do it, is because I don't think I have the stomach for Survivor. Yeah. But like Big Brother, these games are mental, and they require a lot of. They require a warrior spirit, and that's huge. Is that without that spirit, you run the risk of. I think that's why Jesse presents now as such a great option for a winner, because now, not only are you a potential winner, you're a potential winner who was willing to give up everything in this game for the sake of his family, and that's what people want. People want to vote for that, right?
And I know some people say, well, people just pull that out at the end as a sob story to get to win, but. The two times I've noticed it happening was in season 31 when Jeremy brought up the fact that he's like, my wife is pregnant right now, and I can't even bring up the fact that I'm going to be a dad because I know if I say that, you're all going to vote me out. And I've been having to bottle that up and how happy and excited I am to be a father. They vote for him unanimously. But I think people are like, they only voted for him. Like, no, he was going to win either way. And probably was going to win unanimously either way. But same with Adam in season 33. He comes in and he shares to everyone that his mom is dying of cancer in the finale. And everyone's like, well, he used that as a sob story. He wins unanimously. You don't win unanimously. No. You don't sway a whole jury to vote for you by one sob story. Chances are they have their minds made up. If Jesse wins in the end, it's not because of his story. It's because he played a fucking great game. And I think that's why Adam and Jeremy deserve credit, because they did not just win because of their sob stories.
Here's the thing. They did win because of their stories, but not because they brought them up at the end, but because stories. When you walk in, and that's I'm a theater teacher. I use this, but also this is part of education, right? This is part of entertainment. We as a society are driven by things like these. When you walk into a scenario with intention and motivation, and it is strong enough, you can truly and honestly do anything. Mm-hmm. And that's why the best actors and the best performers and the best directors and the best writer X, Y, and Z, right? They are never just writing to make some money. They're never just writing to be famous. They're never just, they're never performing to go to these amazing parties. They're performing, or they're doing what they're doing because there's something much bigger than themselves driving it. And that is why you have people who win unanimously. I mean, look at Taylor this season. She wasn't just there because she's a pageant queen and she wanted to win. She said it, over and over and over again. I'm here because no one like me has ever won. There have been many who have tried, and they've always been seen as something less than themselves. And I'm here to prove that we are bigger than that. And guess what? She wins.
Yes. Yeah.
And it should have been a unanimous 9-0, and it was only 8-1 because of a literal bone throw. Yeah. And that then after season tournament, it's like, I only did that by accident.
And the thing is, I think my main point is just like, the jury rarely, unless it's so neck and neck, if there's an overwhelming winner, the jury usually has that made up before they even show up.
Right.
Tribal. You know what I mean? Like, if Jesse makes it to the end, he's winning. Even if he stands there and says, well, I mean, if he would say something really criminal and bad, like, like, I believe the earth is flat, like, maybe that would sway, but like, he could say the worst stuff and still win, because I think the jury still respects that game, is what I'm saying. Like, he does not need to go and say a sob story. It'll help, but I don't think him saying a story would solely give him the win. I think he's getting the win regardless. And I think that's the thing with, if he wins that way, if he wins unanimously and brings up the fact that his family and the gang and all that stuff, and people start saying, the only reason he won is because bullshit. That's not the reason he won. Like, people need to, like, realize people usually have the game won before they even step in a final.
And they have the game won with things like that because that's their reason. I think that's a cool idea to end on right now. Is like, what's your reason for doing anything? Why do you do what you do? Why do we make this podcast? Why would you do? I think we do this because
I need an outlet to talk about it.
Well,
and I want to talk about it because I love it.
And we do this podcast not just because we love it so much, but the reason we love it is because it's a great way to explore stories, right? We have people like Taylor Hale, who are literally some of the best people, who is one of the best winners ever. And we only know of her because of stuff like this, right? And she stands for so much more than...
Like Gabby Windy. It's like, we know she's this amazing dancer. She doesn't get cast on the show unless she goes on Bachelor and gets dumped to then be the Bachelorette. You know, like, it's weird how all these paths happen. It's like, the only reason she ends up on Dancing with the Stars is because she ends up as the Bachelorette. The only reason she ends up as the Bachelorette is she got screwed over by the Bachelor. Like,
and the reason, you know, people give reality TV a trash nickname, and the reason why...
And some of it is. Some of it is.
And there's...
Too Hot to Handle? Season 4 just dropped. Is it trash? Yes. Am I going to watch all of it and love it? Yes.
But there's also... Think about, like... I mean, we don't ever really talk about this kind of reality. Like, think about the Jersey Shore. Think about the lives that Snooki and JWoww's kids and Dina's kids have, right? Think about Mike the Situation and the world that he's now opened up for himself. Because people fell in love with the relatability of that, they now get to give their kids and the people who come after them an amazing future. And that, I think, is one of, like, we never really talked about why we did this. Obviously, it's because we wanted an outlet to talk about it. But, like, there's so much to be learned from reality TV because people like the Situation, people like Mike the Situation literally prove that anything is possible, right? Anything. You can be the worst type of human being and so low on the quality of life and still turn your life around. And that's a phenomenal message that they didn't put that on the original Jersey Shore, but they felt so good about it that they came back and made a second round of Jersey Shore, the family reunion or family vacation, because people wanted those stories back. They didn't just want to watch Snooki and JWoww hook up with a bunch of people. They knew that they had been past that. They missed the people who they related to. Yeah. And that's huge, right?
Yeah. So if you go on Twitter and hate on Jesse, if he wins, and you hate on Jesse because he only won because of the sob story, that's bullshit. Because his strategy is fueled by not sob story, but by the story.
It's family.
It makes up who he is, and it drives his game. And also, he won because he took out his best ally with his own.
He took his best friend down.
That's the reason he's going to win. It's not because he has a family and kids. A lot of people play this game and have families.
If anything, that's a risk.
Russell Hantz, one of the most famous Survivor villains of all time, had a family and kids, and he lost every time because he was an asshole. You can have the best story in the world, but still lose if you don't have the respect from the jury. And I think the people who win, even if they don't have a story and they win, I think, every season's different. Can't wait to see how this one ends. But we have the same predictions in terms of 5 is Carla, 4 is Jesse, 1 is Cassie, and then I have Gabler in second, Owen in third. You have Owen in second, Gabler in third.
Does this mean that you'll win either way?
I don't know. I'll have to look at the score and see.
I mean, if Gabler wins,
but if I'm only
or if Owen wins, then I.
So right now I am 2 points above you. I am 2 points above you because even with the Cody, we both had him at 6. So what's 6 plus 8? I'm at 114. You're at 112. So if everything happens your way, because the way we do this finale is it's different because like we don't just add points for we go based on placement. So if Jesse gets 4th, we will both get 6 points. Or 5 points. If Carla gets 5th, we both get 5 points. If Carla gets 2nd, we both had her in 5th, we would subtract 2 from 5, we just get 3 points. So it's really however many positions you were off. So let's say Owen gets in 2nd and Gabler comes in 3rd, you were going to get 10 points there, whereas I would get 8. So we would tie.
So we would tie. So we only can tie or you win.
No, because if Owen wins, if it's Owen,
then I win.
Cassidy, something Gabler, like I have Gabler in 2nd, you have Gabler in 3rd. If Gabler comes in 5th, you're getting 3 points for that, and I'm only getting 2.
Oh,
you know what I mean? So it can still change up.
I'm thinking like if this goes perfectly smooth, it'll be different. Okay,
we'll have to see how it plays out. But if it goes if it goes your way completely, we tie. If it goes my way completely, I win. And if it's any mix of the two, we'll see. But if Owen and Gabler are both positioned like right next to each other, then I will probably win. But we'll see.
I really lost on the what day?
Sammy. It was Sammy. You had him at number 1.
Come on, Sam.
The week you went home, Zach had him at number 1. But that's what's great about Survivors. You can throw away your game in 1 week. He was sitting pretty and he threw it away. But anyway, we've got a match to write because next week is the title match where you'll also see Zach. So the next week you'll see Zach quite a lot because you're going to see Zach helping me announce a title match. You're going to see Zach and I talk about this finale when it happens. And you're also going to see me and Zach on a Christmas draft day coming up soon, which we'll have to plan soon. But
it's me.
We're going to be drafting Christmas movies, which is so fun. But do you want to plug yourself elsewhere? If they don't want to see you here, if they want to keep seeing you other places, where can they see you?
You can follow me on Instagram at Zlove with 3 E's. You can follow me on TikTok at Zlove with 3 E's and the 39.
Wouldn't that be Zlovey?
That was my nickname in college. That's what people
Zlovey?
used to. I don't know why they used to say it, but they did. You can follow me on Twitter down below, right there. And you can always find me here.
And sorry this wasn't a live episode. It's just we figured we actually had the time to record this before the day of the episode. So I'll put this out like before the episode drops on Tuesday.
Maybe we'll do a finale react afterwards.
I'm busy Wednesday night, but maybe Thursday night.
Something like
maybe,
that.
But this will be dropping Tuesday night. So right before the finale tomorrow. Enjoy your finale tomorrow, y'all. I'm excited to watch it. I'm pulling for my girl Cass. Let's go. Let's go. Chaos Cass.
Also pulling for Cass.
I know it's
Carla can. Well, I'm pulling for Jesse and Carla.
Yeah, Jesse.
If Cassidy gets to the end, I'll pull for her.
So, like, you're really quick. Your rooting interest in order. Mine would be
Jesse.
Just for pride, Cassidy, Jesse, Owen.
Just for pride, let me put Jesse between my two winner picks. For my rooting order is honestly Jesse. I really want to see Jesse pull through to the end after this. I don't know if he's going to do it. It would go Jesse, Cassidy, Carla, Owen, Gabler. Cool. Only because I think that.
Gabler would be so.
I think Cassidy's proved herself in this last episode, and I think she's going to prove herself in the finale. And then I would love to see Carla win, but I just don't think it's going to happen.
Well, that's all from us, y'all. You can find me, of course, at Dylan_Randazzo, Twitter and Letterboxd. Check all that out, and of course, Dylan Movie Network, where we have lots of good shows. We have an episode of Frame Rack coming out for you soon, based on Mac and Me, the ET ripoff, aka McDonald's commercial Mac and Me, and we're talking about like I said, Christmas Draft Day. We got a Christmas episode of Picture This. We're covering the nominees in 1946 for It's a Wonderful Life, and we are also doing Marvel stuff. Monday we just did a Phase 4 recap with Kelsey, and then we're doing the title match between Noah and Kelsey. We're gonna go write that now. It's gonna be fun. And we'll see you next time, y'all. Bye.
Bye.